So today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea in education called integrated teaching. And at its core, it's really all about answering that one question pretty much every student has asked at some point. Why on earth do I need to learn this? It's all about connecting the dots between what you learn in school and, the real world. Come on, we've all been there, right? You're sitting in a classroom, listening to a lesson, and just thinking, when am I ever going to use this stuff in my actual life? It feels like there's this giant gap between school and everything else. But what if that disconnect isn't really the student's fault? What if the problem is actually the way we've been taught for, forever? You see, the traditional way of doing things keeps every subject in its own little box. Math is over here, science is over there, history is in its own world, and none of them talk to each other. But integrated teaching, it comes in and just smashes those walls down. It's a huge shift from learning isolated facts to building a real, connected understanding of how things work together. Okay, so what does that actually look like, in a real classroom? How does it help students connect those dots we were just talking about? Well, at its heart, it's actually a pretty simple concept. Integrated teaching is a method that takes a bunch of different subjects and weaves them all together into one meaningful, theme-based experience. So instead of jumping from, say, a history class to a math class that feel totally unrelated, students get to explore one central idea through all these different lenses. Let's use a real-world example. Imagine the theme is just water. Okay, so in science class, you might learn all about the water cycle. But then you hop over to math class and you're using what you just learned to actually measure and calculate your own household's water usage. And then in your English class, you take all of that knowledge and write a persuasive essay about water conservation. See, it's not 3 separate random lessons anymore. It's one big, connected, meaningful project. And I've got to say, this is so much more than just some new, trendy teaching method. In the world we live in today, a world that's changing so fast, this kind of approach is absolutely critical for building the skills that people actually need. Think about it. Students today need a lot more than just being able to memorize facts from a textbook. They need to be able to think critically, to solve really complex problems, to be creative, and to work well with other people. Well, integrated teaching is basically designed from the ground up to build these exact skills because it forces students to tackle challenges that just can't be solved by thinking inside one little subject box. So we've got the what and we've got the why. But how do teachers actually pull this off? Well, there are 3 main ways to bring this idea of integration into the classroom. First up is what's called the multidisciplinary approach. This is where subjects are still taught separately, but they're all linked by one common theme, like the environment. Then you can take it a step further with the interdisciplinary approach. This is where the lines between subjects start to get blurry. So a science experiment might require you to use some really advanced math to make it work. And then, at the deepest level, you have the transdisciplinary approach. This one pretty much gets rid of subjects altogether and focuses instead on big, real-world problems, where students have to go out, do their own research, and find their own solutions. Now, for any of this to actually work, it demands a pretty huge change, not just in the curriculum, but in the role of the teacher themselves. I mean, we're talking about a complete transformation of the teacher's job. They go from being a lecturer, the person who stands at the front of the room and has all the answers, to being a facilitator. They become more of a guide, someone who designs these incredible learning experiences instead of just delivering information. Their job isn't to give answers anymore. It's to ask the right questions and to empower students to learn by actually doing. And the payoff for students here? It's massive. All of a sudden, learning becomes genuinely interesting. It's engaging. It helps them understand things on a way deeper level because they can finally see how it all connects to their lives. And that doesn't just build their knowledge, it builds their confidence and their ability to be part of a team. They're not just memorizing facts for a test anymore, they actually get it. But of course, as amazing as all this sounds, it's not a magic bullet. It definitely comes with its own set of challenges. So let's take a quick look at the practical side of things. So the big question is, if this is so effective, why isn't every single school on the planet doing it? Well, the simple answer is that it's just not that easy to implement. Look, making this work is a real journey. It takes a ton of time for teachers to plan these complex lessons together. It requires special training to help them become these amazing facilitators. And you've got to come up with totally new ways to grade these big, multi-subject projects. These are real hurdles, for sure. But here's the thing, they're not insurmountable. They can be overcome. When you get right down to it, integrated teaching isn't just a new method. It's a whole philosophy. It's about shifting the entire goal of education. We move away from just preparing kids to pass a test and start preparing them for the incredible complexity of life. And it really all boils down to one fundamental question that every educator, every parent, every one of us should be asking. Are we just teaching subjects, or are we teaching understanding?